Hello, everybody. It is Kaiju Stuff here, and I'm back with another video. Today, we're going to be doing somewhat of a retrospective, very loosely a retrospective of these. This is a very simple Godzilla plush, and I just so happen to have a quite interesting lineup of these, and I figure, why don't I make a video specifically about the Godzilla plushes I own and the very interesting histories of them? So, starting off with this one, this is a very basic and quite common Kid Robot Godzilla plush, and at one point, these things were everywhere. They were in GameStops, they were in FYEs, they were in Targets, they were in Walmarts. Even today, nearly a decade after these things are released, they're still in Targets and Walmarts, and even occasionally GameStops I see them in. This is probably the most iconic Godzilla plush in the United States, just because of the reach this thing was able to achieve. And it is a very basic plush. It's relatively tiny, so if you're not really a big Godzilla guy, but you want a representation of a cute, cuddly Godzilla, then this is definitely your guy, because it's very portable and you could definitely just kind of fit it anywhere. So, I really do think this was a great start to this video, and in this video, we're going to be going from the least interesting to the most interesting, obviously in my opinion, because it's my video and my channel, so you have no say, because this is a dictatorship, not a democracy. So let's move on to the next plush that I find slightly more interesting, but it's still not really in my opinion. Now, when you think of Godzilla, especially if you're an average Joe who's not a big fan of the series, what do you imagine? A big, dinosaur-like monster, or a tiny, cute and cuddly plush? The last plush I showed you was relatively tiny, especially compared to a 50-meter tall monster. But the next one I'll show you is still relatively tiny, but big. This is the exact same plush I showed you, but scaled up. It is also created by Kid Robot, and it is huge. It's just about 2 feet tall. And there is something very special about this that differs from the tinier one. If you flip this over here, on the bottom, no, that's not his butt crack, but some Velcro. And if you open it up, you'll see a box that's white in color, and it's made for some batteries. And if you hit this on switch like that, that's when the magic happens. Flipping it back over, it looks like nothing has changed. But if I were to give it a good punch, it starts to vibrate. Violently, might I add. And that's really what differs it from the other figure, is that this one can violently vibrate. And that's really it, and it's also really big. And it was also available at the exact same locations, just in less quantity, because I really don't think they have the shelf space to keep this, unlike the other one. So let's move on to something that's non-Godzilla, but still in the franchise. Going back to something that's a little smaller, here we have King Kong. This one's also created by Kid Robot, and most of the plushies in this video will be made by them because they truly had a monopoly on the Godzilla plush scene for an obscene amount of time until relatively recently, but even so, they're still a massive player in the 2020s. But King Kong is very cool because all these figures have a really unique personality, and this specific King Kong is not based on Godzilla vs. Kong or any particular Kong that involves Godzilla or just any particular Kong in general. So you could tell it's King Kong because he has a little king's crown on his head. And that's really the defining feature of this plush, is that it's a monkey with a crown, but it also says King Kong here, and that's really it. Not much to it, but it does go very well with the other Godzillas, and it does scale very nicely, and I hope they did that on purpose for the children that wanted them to battle and stuff. Very cool, and I do like how it scales. Making our way back to the Godzilla series, here we have a King Ghidorah plush. This one, you will not believe it, is also created by Kid Robot. And you're going to see that a lot in this video. Just a lot of Kid Robot, because they really do dominate the Godzilla plush scene here in the United States. And as you can see though, this King Ghidorah is absolutely fantastic. He definitely has the same feel as the Godzilla that I just showed. And he does scale very well with the Godzilla. And if you're not really into the whole figure scene, which I know I've been saying this a lot, but it is true. If you're not that big into figures, these are the things that you should be getting, because this is a really cool King Ghidorah, and I do like the metallic, weird, very interesting fabric that they use to stitch this thing up. Not too cuddly though, but I don't think anyone's cuddling with King Ghidorah. Unless you are. Then you're a little weird, but you know, it's fine. I mean, I would. Let's just move on, yeah. Now, who does not like a bowl of ramen? Especially the ones that you get at like a Dollar Tree or something that's very cheap and horrible for you, but you have it once a year to feel better. Well, Godzilla feels the exact same way, because here we have a cup noodle Godzilla crossover, and the only one that I know of. As you can see, this one is also made by Kid Robot, and I do still have the tag on it, just because of how unique this thing is. And to my knowledge, this is the only piece of true merchandise created for the Cup Noodles Godzilla crossover. Quite the crossover, and to be honest, nothing can top this. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime crossover. But what I do find cool is that this Godzilla appears to be based off of the Millennia Godzilla, just because his dorsal plates are a slight tinge of purple. It's very hard to tell on camera, but they are purple. And this is a very cute Godzilla. He does look like he would enjoy a bowl of ramen. And overall, I do really like the plush, and I do like how they didn't just reuse that Godzilla I've been nonstop showing and just slapped a noodle on it. I do like how this is like its own thing, and this, I like this little afro of spikes up here. Everything is just really good, and I highly recommend this plush just because of how really cool it is, especially in the Godzilla history aspect. Very cool. Another one of something that's not really considered official by any means is this. This is the Feisty Pets Godzilla thing. Because I didn't get this a couple years ago, and I don't know the exact name, but I'm sure they use something very generic, like Fire Dragon, or Gray Dragon, or Gray Dinosaur, something very generic just to get by. But I really would not be shocked if they were sued by the big mans upstairs. Obviously, I'm referring to about Toho, because this is Godzilla. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. This is literally, he has dorsal plates. He stands upright. He's gray. I mean, this is Godzilla in the flesh. But the whole point of the Feisty Pets line is that they could do this. They become angry. That's the whole point of their existence, and someone thought it was a darn tootin' idea. So, if you were a kid in the mid 2010s, I'm sure you've seen so many info commercials about these, because I definitely did, but I never decided to get one until I saw this, and that was years after I got out of this phase of wanting things on commercials. So I saw this at like a Target, and I just thought it was very interesting. So I did pick it up, but in all due respect, it is a very nice plush. It's very fluffy. You could definitely sleep with it, and I do think if you're selling a plush, that should be something the manufacturers are thinking of, is that can this be in a bed with a child? And I think this does pass. And so far, this is probably the one to pass the best, because this was indeed made for children, while the others were probably not. They were made for nerds that were 40 years old that are losers. Let's move on. Going back to the official stuff, here we have a surreal Mothra plush. And I find this one really cool because it does fit very well with the other Godzilla plushes that I did just show, and the King Kong. So even though they're different companies, they all scale very well, and this is a very nice plush if you just so happen to like Mothra and Mothra only. It is very comfy. It's like a pillow, and it's just a very nice plush, very nice fabric. I do like how there's different forms of fabric throughout it, just to give it different texture. Very nice colors. Overall, really, really cool. And I do like how it matches the other Godzilla plushes. And for the last part of this video, we're going to get into some of my vintage stuff. The old stuff. The stuff that collects dust. Starting with this Hero Cart Godzilla made by Band Presto. Now, there was a time in the 1990s in Japan where everything had to be on a cart. Literally everything. Mario started it, Godzilla ended it. And that is the only time I will ever say that on this channel, so I figure I would say it now. Because that's really what happened. Mario got on a cart, and then all these franchises decided, hey, we should make either a toy, video game, or just general art of our character on a cart. And I guess with Godzilla doesn't really make sense, because he usually destroys these things, but it is very cool. The cart does indeed move. Just not that far, but it is on wheels. And they did make other ones like Kamen Rider, Ultraman, but I just happen to have the Godzilla one. And apparently Godzilla also seems to be winning the race, considering he's done. This also could probably be used as an ornament. I don't know who would use it as an ornament, but hey, it's there. It's not that cuddly, I guess. Like, you can't sleep with it simply just because of this cart. It doesn't even look like Godzilla, really. If I didn't know it was Godzilla, I would just assume it was just some dinosaur. But this is Godzilla. If not, it does kind of look like little Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. If you flip it over, it says Band Presto 1993. And if you really wanted to remove the Godzilla, you could technically just cut this little string here. But I really would not do that, because it would look really stupid if you lost the cart and just had this Godzilla sitting in a weird position with an even weirder flag. Very odd, but a very cool and neat plushie. And our final plush for today, also made by Band Presto, is this pink Godzilla. No, not the one from the New Empire. This one is from 1993. Now, you might be saying, why on earth would I need a pink Godzilla with a yellow belly? Well, this specific guy could come in multiple colors. I'll put it up here because I don't feel like listing them. All right, we're good. You see them? Great. Anyway, so this Godzilla came in multiple colors, and it is a very nice Godzilla build. I mean, if you just made this the regular color Godzilla, it would be an awesome plushie. But they made it in all crazy colors. Kind of like Skittles, which I like Skittles, so I don't have a problem with that. I do have the tag on this one, and it has a hyper-realistic Godzilla. Unlike this guy, who's kind of cute. And on the back, there's like green ones, and then all the ones you could collect. None of which being a regular gray Godzilla. Which, to be honest, I'm personally fine with. But I do know there's people that would like a regular one. But this is fine. And I did specifically get the pink one. One, because it's actually the cheapest out there. Because I guess no one wants a pink Godzilla. Legendary. Can you hear me? Sorry. And I just find it so much of an oddity that they even made a pink Godzilla with a yellow belly. And every time I look at this, it just reminds me of Kirby, and I do like the Kirby games. So, good for them. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for watching. That's it for today. That is my entire Godzilla plush collection. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.